Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed the conversation and thanks so much for coming back. But for everyone out there who's new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer, soda, water, coffee in the fridge. Cheers to everyone out there on the internet. Does life sometimes feel like a cheeseburger with cheese sticks and too many toppings on it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord. That's something that has been like,
right now it does.
This year. It's like, because even up until the pandemic, it was like we were doing a lot of stuff. And at the time, I think at one point there was 4 bands rehearsing on top of it as well that I was like gigging with. Well, 3 of them were gigging.
Not in the pandemic, though.
Not in the pandemic. Once that ended and we started just ramping up again, even with just filming the live sessions over the pandemic and practice and all that, you're like, yo, I literally don't have free time for the next week and a half.
There's only so many times our studio can get rearranged before you're like, okay, can I just have my drum set be the same for one time and then I come back and it's the same again? You know, like,
it's just dealing with burnout, especially with work, because you know there's not money in it. I'm not making a living.
You
off
have to
of it.
work
it's like,
too.
It's just like on top of 40 hours of work, it's like that's just in everything, and it's like that'll wreck you if you're not careful. I'm sure you know.
Sure,
especially with everything.
Yeah,
and that's definitely been the biggest challenge is like timing it right so that everything gets like what it needs without being like undercut.
Yeah, I think that, you know, for me personally, what I have found to be very beneficial is just not doing stuff if I don't feel like doing it and don't say anything about it. Yep. Nobody notices. Nobody fucking cares.
Yep.
Right.
I could easily not put out an episode of my podcast for probably 2 months.
Yeah.
And nobody would say a goddamn word to me.
Right.
I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And then I'd put out another one and be like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're all like, if you publicly highlight not being able to do something or things like that, then all of a sudden it becomes a much different thing.
And I think that's a conscious effort that we're trying to make too, is like I obviously, and Still See Death Club I'm talking about, we all know like what we're doing and like the like extent to which we're doing it. However, like nobody else does. And so if like I've found myself guilty of this, like, oh, we might miss putting out a video this week. Oh no.
Yeah.
It's like
that kind of shit.
Who cares?
Nobody's paying attention.
Yeah. And now we're just like, all right, we're off season. We scheduled out the shooting schedule and like we're good. Like, if somebody has ideas they want to shoot and put out, like great.
A lot of it is me personally, my OCD wanting to have a video every Monday and look the same and uniform and good and blah, blah, blah. But like, you also got to get over that.
You know, that's honestly like why, like I have found myself like having like, it's kind of a luxury of being mediocre, right? Which I'm totally comfortable with saying that, like in the grand scheme of things, right?
How do
like,
you mean?
like I'm not somebody like, we'll take this podcast, for example, right? Like this isn't a podcast that gets like 30,000 views in an hour. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's a small thing. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to a small community, but on a big scale, it's not a huge thing. So for me to just say like, I don't want to do this today, it's okay. And nobody else really notices. And that's what is good, because if I was in a position, like say I'm a huge podcaster and say every episode that I do does get those views, I couldn't probably skip. I would actually have to then keep up with stuff.
Like income is based.
Yeah, because like, you know, it's like income based, or like, you know, you have like a much bigger fan base where people are going to be expecting things. Like nobody expects shit from me.
Yeah.
And like, as much as I like want it, or like, it'd be cool to be in a band that's super successful. It's like, well, how successful? How much success then actually becomes like a problem?
Right.
And
like
I wonder
pressure.
about that sometimes.
General high level consistency is way more important than like really nitty gritty consistency. You hear me, future us? It doesn't matter that much, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, watch this in 5 years when you're like, you remember that time we did that podcast? Oh God, it's fucking worse.
Making
But
fun
that's the way I feel like that's the way it's always is that you're always gonna look back on your past self and just like, oh no. I mean, that's just part
That's kind of the
figuring
point,
it out.
though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just weird now that like I feel like especially younger people coming up, like they're figuring that out and it's all recorded and out there.
Oh
Where
yeah,
even for me, a lot of
Scary.
the stuff like in high school and even some in middle school, it's like, you know, some social media, but like most of the shows we played for the first 8 years were dog shit. And there was
Yeah.
nobody there because nobody knew
Well,
about
and,
them.
like my brother, he's 4 years younger than me, and he's just getting into music now, which is it thrills me beyond anything. It's so cool, and I like can jam with him now and everything, and that's great. However, he's like holding himself to the standard of like bands that have existed for, you know, how long have we been
Yeah.
playing for like a long time. And I'm like, dude, you got to take your licks sometimes because that's just makes you better. You know, play a silly roboto gig and then you'll know, you know, or like he's trying to record and it's like, you don't have to be pro yet. You know, I know you get,
Take it one step
I
at a
admire
time,
that
yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
be, but take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
You know, like you
That's-
will get there. It just takes a little bit.
Yeah.
that's the thing that really, really sucks about a lot of the internet and the whole like. It's a lot easier to look like a good band than be a good
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember I started seeing this shit happening in like when MySpace was a thing.
Mm.
And there was a band. I don't remember what the hell the name of this band was. For one, they weren't a real band. I don't think they ever played any shows or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the kid that ran this band, he could self-record. He could do graphic design. So like they had this MySpace page where it was like all of these t-shirt designs, band
Yeah.
logo, well, like, you know, recorded demos that have like, you know, like computer drums on them, but it was like, you know, MySpace metalcore bullshit. But I mean, like it really looked like a well put together thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was totally bullshit. And I
Right.
remember seeing that and I was just like, this is going to be a fucking problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if there's some kid from like Irwin or wherever the hell he was from doing this, this isn't going to be the only one. This is definitely going to expand. It's going to turn into a thing where now people see like, oh, like so-and-so has a band in a MySpace. I want a band in a MySpace. And like,
Right.
we got to get t-shirt designs. We got to get a logo. We got to get photos. It's like, okay, when did the songs come in?
Yeah.
When do you start writing songs?
When do you practice?
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
a fine line, and I'm talking to future me and current me. There's a
Yeah, we're gonna
fine
be totally hypocrites about this.
there's
shit,
a
by the way.
fine
Cheers.
line between like you want to be as pro as you can, right? You know, fake it till you make it type of thing.
Yeah.
But there's also such thing as too pro. Like for Fortune Teller, our band, whenever like we're planning a lot for the fall and whatever, and so I'll go to him like, hey, I think we should get this, this, and this, and this. And thankfully, he's more like, okay, pump the brakes. How many t-shirt designs do we need? You
Sure.
know, who cares?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're right. Let's save a couple
It's
$100.
not even like a who cares because it's like our friends will think it's sweet. If we
Exactly.
order 100 shirts.
Yeah.
And, you know, our 20 friends that think it's sweet.
Not gonna make
Oh,
our
sure,
money
yeah,
back.
You'll sell 10 on the road in
Yeah,
4 months.
yeah, you order
That's
100
it.
shirts and you have 2 shows booked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
Like,
Like, how are you gonna
That's
get
just
rid
part
of
of
your
figuring it
inventory?
out. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, it's just you just take the hits and you're like,
Right.
all right.
Exactly.
I think that part of it, I relate with the stress of feeling like I need to do all this stuff because like I know like these are things that I should do,
Yeah.
but like the timing sometimes gets mixed up in my head. You know, I always have, God, I got to burp. I always have a hard time falling asleep. And like, this is the
Yeah,
kind of
me
shit that I
too.
think about at
Right.
night, you know what I mean? Where I'm just like, oh, fuck, like I got to make a checklist for this gig because like, you know, it's a bigger one and we're bringing all these extra lights and are we going to need a table or not a table for the merch? I got to fucking, you know, I'm like making all these notes up till
The
3 in the
notes app-
morning.
Yeah.
The notes app
same.
on my phone is a very manic place.
Same. It's horrific. Even the voice memos. If I'm at work and
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
type something, I'll be like, do this.
Text
It's
this
either
person
weird
this.
beatbox beats that I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna try to record later that I think for some reason I'm gonna know what I'm doing, or it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, hey, you piece of shit, like get this done later.
I love like it'll be like 4 days later and I'll just see a note in my phone that says like corn salad. And I'm like, what was that about? What does this mean?
Yeah.
And I will never remember.
I used to work at a restaurant. I used to work at Permani Brothers in Mount Lebanon, and I would get like almost like war flashbacks in bed of like, oh shit, I forgot that guy's ranch. You want another beer?
Sure.
Yeah. I would be like, yo, I forgot that guy's ranch. He's like, and I would have bad dreams about that kind of thing. So like, it's a kind of a similar thing. I think everybody, yeah, I'm going to speak right to the camera. I think everybody should work in food service because it takes a lot out of you, and you kind of treat people nicely that way. However,
food service taught me how to
sucks,
deal
man.
with assholes.
Sucks.
Yeah, you know,
I totally hear you.
my first job ever was at a Taco Bell. I saved up my first 3 paychecks to buy my first sampler drum machine.
Ring it, baby. Ring the bell.
And I still have that sampler.
That's tight.
I worked at Panera for like 6 months when I was 16 after high school and saved
Across from a what? A Taco
across
Bell.
from a Taco Bell that
There
my
you go.
friend used to work at, and I would go over and get free quesadillas.
Oh, that rules.
Balling out.
That rules.
Love you, Taco Bell. Give me
Cheers
free
to
shit
Taco
still.
Bell. Yeah.
But yeah, and just fucking saved up and bought my first actual guitar, like a Fender Jaguar, and I was like, oh, I'm the shit now.
You had a summer where you just spent a lot of like your graduation money. And
I spent all my money
on an amp and a guitar, and it was so fulfilling for me to see because I'm just this much older than him, and
like a year or so.
Yeah, but like I at that point like I'm a drum nerd. And so I think I had like multiple drum kits by then, but you were like joining the club of like the buying expensive gear club, and it was so sick.
This hobby that I regret getting into now.
Yeah,
sure.
It's like start working at 16, just been broke since.
Yeah. So,
but in the best way.
but financially broke, but spiritually rich.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Oh, 100%.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yes.